Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the Anniversary Edition cars. For those of you not familiar, the GS-F, it was produced 2016 to 2020. The second to last year, 2019, they made an Anniversary Edition. And so basically what that entailed was, it was more of an appearance package than anything. Like the car didn't have any more power, different suspension, anything like that. The most noticeable part is going to be the matte Nebula Gray paint. So that's basically the same color as the 1 year only 2016 Nebula Gray Pearl. I think it's also called Slate Gray. Let me look at my notes here. That was called Mercury Gray in some other markets, but I'm pretty familiar with the US market and then worldwide production. But the cars, there were a total of 151 that were produced worldwide. That's basically one pre-production car that I'm fully aware of, and that's the ones that you see in the brochures, things like that. It was made about 6 months prior to the rest of them being made, but I did include it in the total count. So getting into the interior, the differences were it had a blue carbon fiber trim. It had a special emblem on the center that said F10 as in 10th anniversary. It had blue seat belts. It had a black, blue, and white interior. It was called Bespoke White. And I guess it would be unique to just the US market. It's the only car that was available for the US market that had a heated steering wheel. So that's something of note, I suppose. Everything else, you had black wheels, it had blue calipers instead of the black or the orange calipers that were previously available. And so, again, it's an appearance package, but it did carry quite a premium. All right, so let's get into the production numbers. As I said, there were 151 that were made worldwide and broken down. Let me get my notes here. If you take out the pre-production cars, 151 out of 4744 that I've identified worldwide. That's the one pre-production car, as I talked about. It's technically a 2018 model because it was made so far prior to the rest of them. But that's 101 for North America except Hawaii, and then there's 1 for Hawaii, 2 for Puerto Rico. That's a total of 105 for North America, which I find kind of interesting because I think it was advertised as 100 worldwide or 100 for the US, something like that. If you look at the advertising materials, I believe it said 100, and so there's actually 105, and I've identified every single one of those. I have a Carfax on them. I know that they exist. There were 11 for Australia, 9 for New Zealand, so that's a total of 20 for the Australian general market, 26 in Japan, which is most likely 1 pre-production and 25 actual production cars. And there were none for Canada, but there is 1 US market car in Canada currently, but it is not a Canadian market car. There were none in the Gulf region, none in Europe for either market, and there are 3 of the USA market cars that are currently in Europe, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. So breaking down the North America production, let's see how many clean title ones are actually left of these 101 cars, or these 105 cars. So just getting to the Hawaiian car, there's only one. It actually has 15,000 miles, 3 owners, 2 accidents as of February 2025, and it's still in Hawaii. The 2 cars that are in Puerto Rico, one has 4,000 miles, one has 38,000. Both are 2 owner, no accident cars, and both are in Puerto Rico as well. So on to the USA market cars. We've got, as I said, 101 cars for the USA market except Hawaii and Puerto Rico. And I know that every single one of them has been titled. So I know that there are more than 100 that exist for the advertised 100 that were supposed to exist. There are none that are never titled, so which means there's not one that's stuffed away somewhere in a dealership owner's collection or like we've seen with some of these others. So of those 101, 67 have a clean title and no accidents. That's it. That's pretty surprising on a car that's now only 6 years old. There's only 67, 66% of them that have a clean title and no accidents, that's better than the average for the rest of the GS-Fs. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that roughly between 52 and 55% of the GS-Fs remaining have a clean title with no accidents or no damage reported. The remaining 26 have a clean title, but at least 1 accident on the Carfax. And that's been what's been reported. That's broken down further as 13 with 1 accident, 11 with 2 accidents, and 2 already have 3 accidents reported. There's 2 that originally had a salvage title but were rebuilt. 1 was in a fire, and that actually, if you look on Facebook Marketplace and some other places, it's currently for sale right now. The other one was just a light hit in the front, so there's no surprise there that it was rebuilt. But as you've heard me talk about in some of these other videos, the front ends of these cars are very expensive. So headlights, grille, front bumper, and the stuff behind it, that could easily total one of these. $20,000 to $30,000 worth of damage just for that. And that's unfortunate, but you do see that happen quite a bit with these cars. So after the salvage title ones, there are two that were hit pretty hard to the point where they're not repairable. So they've gone away. And then there were four that were salvage title and exported, one to Germany, one to Hong Kong, one to Ukraine, and one to the Netherlands. The one that went to the Netherlands was actually one of the original Lexus press cars, the one that traveled around to the shows and things like that. So again, that's kind of unfortunate, but it happens. Something that's kind of cool with these cars, at least, none of them were driving school cars. Not to say that none of them were tracked, but none of them were officially used by Lexus for driving events that had hundreds of people in the seats, you know, thousands, if not tens of thousands of track miles on them. So feel safe that knowing that at least from that perspective, it wasn't a former track car if you're looking for one of these used. So let's see, the very last Anniversary Edition car for the US market, oddly enough, it's in Hawaii, but it was a US market car. And so Hawaii is part of the US, but it's a different market. So that's why I always have to separate them. And so you'll hear me talk about the USA 49. Well, that's everything except the Hawaiian market cars. But anyway, the last one is in Hawaii, and it's a 4-owner, 1-accident car with a clean title and about 26,000 miles on it. Hawaiian cars typically don't have the mileage that the US mainland cars have, just because obviously it's a small set of islands. You don't get the crazy mileage like you do here in the US, in the mainland. As far as prices go for these, you've heard me talk about it in a previous video about the values of these, but basically you're looking at somewhere in the upper 50s to lower 60s for a higher mileage example, maybe has a couple accidents on it, something like that, on the way up to mid 60s, upper 60s, lower 70s for a pretty pristine example. And there have been several recent sales that have kind of backed that up. There's one with 30, 40,000 miles. You're going to expect to pay in the area of around $69,000, $70,000, $71,000. That's kind of what they're going for right now at the beginning of February 2025. So as far as what's out there, the current lowest and highest mileage examples, the lowest mileage out there right now, it looks like there are 3 that actually have 3-digit mileage, so less than 1,000 miles on them. I didn't see any single-digit or double-digit mileage, but there are some out there with triple-digit mileage. And I'm assuming that the people that bought these likely knew that they were going to be a special edition car, so they bought them as intent for collecting them, adding them to their collection, hopefully a future store of value. The highest mileage car right now is in Maryland. So those of you not familiar with the United States, it's in the northeastern part of the United States. It has about 102,000 miles as of July of 2024, so likely even more now. So there are a few others that are getting pretty close to the 100,000 mile mark, if not over that, and just hasn't been reported yet. So it's really great to see these cars being driven. I'm thrilled to see that, you know, they were enthusiast cars, enthusiasts bought them, and they're driving them. They're not being stored away. I would say, so the bulk of them overall have a lot lower mileage than the rest of the GSFs of equivalent year. The typical mileage right now, like the average of the 101 cars is 32,900 miles. So 33,000 miles on a, now you're talking 6+ year old car. That's pretty low. And that's all averages from my spreadsheet. But the others in this area would have around 50,000 miles or so. So again, the people that bought these, they knew they were special. Some of them weren't being driven, but the complete opposite end of the spectrum is there's several that did get driven and got a lot of miles put on them. So tell me in the comments, is this a car, this Anniversary Edition car, do you think that this is something that was worth the price premium versus a regular 2019 GSF? Is it on your list to buy? Would you buy that over a regular GSF knowing that they command a little bit of a price premium? So again, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so, hit the thumbs up, and of course, let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.